let's say hypothetically, I don't know, OpenAI crashes, right? Like what happens?
Can I curse on this show?
Yes.
It would be bad is the short answer.
Hi, guys, and welcome back to Interact's Grow podcast. So great to be with you as always. I'm your host, Jessamine Solana. We have Jackie, Damaris, and Jesse here with us today, and a very special guest from the engineering team, Evan. Welcome back.
Woo, woo,
For having me. Happy to be here.
You guys might remember Evan from a previous episode that we did. I think we talked mostly about company culture, which was a really good episode. So go look for that. Check it out if you haven't yet. And it's been a while since we had someone from the engineering team come on, and we're nearing the end of the year, nearing 2024. So we thought it would be a good idea to kind of dig into what engineering has been doing and sort of like this past year working on Interact AI. So, Evan, I kind of want to leave the floor open to you. And then, ladies, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and then just take it away.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the introduction. And thanks for letting me join. I got very festive since we're in the
Yeah, love the Christmas tree.
ready to go. So yeah, just some updates from like the engineering side. What have we been working on the past couple months? There's been two tracks of work on the engineering side. One exciting and one more less exciting. In the background, we're always doing like tech debt work and technical debt reduction, trying to make our code base cleaner, trying to unify all our APIs, make it easier to debug things, to make things faster, all the stuff that isn't like a brand new feature, but makes the systems run smoother. So that's been going on in the background. We're having lots of discussions around how to kind of consolidate all of our code into one single place. But on the more exciting, sexy we've been doing a lot of stuff around AI and AI quiz generation. So a big feature that we've been working towards is the ability to automatically create an Interact quiz with the help of AI, such that you can put in your quiz title idea or just your general idea for a quiz, some outcomes if you have them, and then we'll take that information combined with content from your website or social media presence to create a quiz which highlights your company in an interactive way. So doing that, it's a pretty big task going to that glorious end goal of having it be this automated system. And we've been slowly taking steps toward that. I think a brief history, which everybody on this podcast is aware of, we started from very humble beginnings of this idea of let's generate a quiz with AI. I think it really started with a set of AI prompts or recipes that Josh made and the team here would use within like the ChatGPT or OpenAI playground, combining those preset prompts with information we got from customers. That process, as it sounds, works, but is really, really manual. It's error prone. Sometimes we don't have consistency in like the way that the prompts are being run. And it just, it takes a lot of time from the team. So while it was a great way to get people onboarded to interact and like show them the power of quizzes, it wasn't really scalable with our team, right? If we got 1 million requests per day, that's 200,000 manual quiz generations per year. That doesn't really sound like fun.
We built a lot of quizzes, that's for sure, in the past few months. A lot of quizzes.
So we've been working towards like automating more and more pieces of that flow. And one tool that wasn't released externally, but was like an internal admin tool, was a automation of those prompts, such that admins here could just click a button and gather information from a user's website and take their quiz request and then automatically run it through those prompts as opposed to using the playground. So that was a big step towards automating, but it still had its issues, right? Sometimes the prompts would break. Sometimes we didn't have enough data. We couldn't get data from a user's website. So there was a ton of edge cases that still exist today.
Shout out to you, Evan, for doing that, because that made our lives so much easier.
Yeah.
Doing my part.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And with that said, I got to shadow, like when I was making this, shout out back to you, Damaris, for letting me just, be a fly in the wall and see you use the playground, deal with like these edge cases, talk me through like how you figure them out or like your workarounds, because we incorporated a lot of your feedback and the team's feedback into making this dashboard. Synergy, right? Yeah.
For sure.
Like the last step here and kind of the, towards that like glorious end feature is the full automation of taking someone's quiz idea and then actually creating a quiz and putting it into their account. And very excitingly, we're getting very close to having this feature up and production ready, such that you can fill out the questions, hit submit, create a new account or link to your account, and in like 5 minutes or less, you should have a brand spanking new quiz in your account.
That's so cool.
So it builds off the admin dashboard, takes that logic and, extends it, adds even more, functionality to it, and adds some like design elements as well to make the quiz look good and try to match your brand. And takes a lot more work off of the team's plate, hopefully. So yeah, it's been a very, iterative process on the Eng team. We are constantly talking with our team internally, and shout out to Josh for constantly getting feedback from end customers and you all too, saying like, hey, do you like your quiz? What parts were good? What parts were bad? And we incorporate that feedback into the prompts that we use and into like the quiz construction process to make it all better.
Shout out to Josh. He's the GOAT for sure with this quiz creation stuff, man. I don't know how he does it, but I mean, I guess he's been doing this for 10 plus years, but holy moly. Shout out, boss.
Yeah. And shout out to the whole engineering team. Like now when you're just going through all of this, when I look back, like, wow, like our whole team really like all contributed and worked on this together more than ever. Like I don't think I've worked more closely with the engineering team or even Jackie or Damaris or anyone, and it came out so good that it really goes to show that working together like this came out awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, to give perspective, we started the project in January, probably actually like November, December. If you want to go back to probably when Josh was like, this would be a great idea. So late last year, and this has really been like a year-long project, very close. And so that leads to my next question, actually, Evan. You have to build this pure automated process while, we're actually creating quizzes using the AI. What are the steps that you think, like, it doesn't happen overnight. So what are the steps that you guys had to go through to make sure that this product, when it does go live and it launches, is something that anybody can use?
Yeah, that's a great question. Do we have like 2 or 3 days to discuss? Yeah, like you're right. Like there's a lot of considerations that go into building something that's automated, extensible, can handle like a large variety of use cases. I'd say one kind of foundational thing that we focused on was that idea of, I'll call it prompt construction. Not trying to make it sound more complex than it is, but at the very foundation of this is the idea of like having some preset prompts or instructions which output a quiz and combine those with data that we get from some user, whether that be something they submit directly to us or it comes through their website or social media profile or some other data source. So something we spent a lot of time thinking about and working on was making like this prompt construction system, like a templating system where we could easily make a new prompt, define variables or inputs to those prompts, and have it automatically create a prompt to be executed within OpenAI or some other LLM. So we call it like our prompt builder tool, or like prompt builder system. And it combines exactly what I said: templates, data sources, variables that all come together into a prompt that can be executed. And we take that response, whether it be plain text or format, and convert that into different pieces of interact quiz. So that took a while to do. Like, I think even in this couple months that we've been working on it, we've had our own engineering improvements. And also like the OpenAI and just LLM ecosystem has improved massively as well in terms of providing more consistent response output, i.e. you can say, hey, answer this question, but make sure you put it in a JSON object or like a JavaScript object such that we can parse it immediately. And make sure to use these key names when you're describing it. That didn't exist 6 months ago, and now it does. And we're like immediately incorporating that new feature or new offering into our system. So it's been like, overwhelming. Things are changing every single day in this ecosystem, but we're trying to keep up with it and, incorporate those in. So I'd say prompt construction was a big thing. And then the last part is actually cutting down on the execution time, or I guess you could call it like prompt refinement. How can we make sure that these prompts are running as efficiently as possible and as quickly as possible, such that we don't have to wait 10 minutes for a quiz to generate. Instead, it's like 5 or 3 or 2 or 1. That's the end goal. So we've been looking on refining those and kind of improving the like execution environment of these prompts such that it's really, really fast.
Can I
I'm just visualizing, Evan's like really dumbing it down for the audience right now, but I'm visualizing them in an engineering team meeting, just using all these like terms that we have no idea what they mean. But they understand it, but we're just over here like, yeah, thanks for dumbing it down. No idea what you're talking about. I have a question, Evan.
Yeah.
So part of this, first of all, this year-long process has been insane from beginning to end. And I almost like when I stopped sort of and started taking back some of my time, I almost had like similar to like writer's block. I was like, oh my God, what was I doing before AI came along? Like I forgot in some ways, my roles and responsibilities because I was so consumed by AI. But one of the things that I think I asked you this when we had like a demonstration or whatever we want to call it. How do you guys keep up with all of these changes and demands and updates and upgrades from OpenAI, and then customer feedback? Is it just, I guess I'm just curious of the process behind the scenes, how that works for you guys.
Yeah. Great question. Something that we're like constantly trying to answer. I think the word that popped up in my head is prioritization. Everything that we do has to be looked through the lens of like time criticality, importance, benefit that it's going to bring a user, benefit that it's going to bring our internal team, weighed against the amount of time that it'll take to make it. So it also reminds me of like there's an iron triangle of project management, right? You have time, resources, and scope. And for any project, you can change, how much time you have, how much resources you have, or you can change the scope of the project. But those are the constraints on which you get anything done. So that is the way that I look at the prioritization and kind of like input stuff we get coming in. Do we have enough time to work on it? Is this like a scoped project or ask? And do we have enough resources? Do we have enough Inch team to work on it? And we try to optimize that equation, if you will, to deliver the highest impact for the lowest cost or lowest scope or lowest resources. But there's sometimes where, hey, you really do have to take the time to invest, a lot of resources because it's going to be a really big improvement. I think like the end-to-end automation of like generating quizzes is a good example of that. It's a super large scope project. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of resources, but the end benefit is really, really high. So we invest in it. And that's kind of like our framework. We have a variety of stack ranks, like a spreadsheet of all the features we could be working on that have details kind of about the three different pieces I mentioned. How long would this take? How much resources we have to put towards it? What's the scope of it? And then what's the actual end user benefit? So we have that in terms of features. We have that in terms of bugs, of things that are reported internally and externally. We always think about it in terms of that lens, probably annoyingly so. I know most people here me ask, is there a workaround for this? Like, how critical is it? And I know it can be an annoying question, but it's one that we always keep in mind because we're super limited. We're a bootstrap team, we're a startup. So we just, as much as we want to, we don't have the ability to work on everything. So we have to be pretty ruthlessly prioritized and focused on what we are doing.
Can you give...
But honestly, that brings up a great... sorry.
I was going to ask if you could just give a quick perspective on like how big the engineering team is. I think we always talk about how we're a small team. There's like, is there 13 of us now? 12, 13? But of engineering, of engineering exactly, how many of you are working on the Interact AI?
Right now we have 2. Excitingly, we hired our 3rd full-time engineer, 4 including Matt, and then we have Jared, junior dev, and like QA tester. So we have a engineering team of 5, and then 2, myself and Philip, working full-time on like AI related features. Small but mighty team.
Small.
Well, and I was going to exactly say that. I was going to say, when we look at it in retrospect, we've been doing this for a year, but we are literally doing this in such a small team. Evan was taking a lot of it for a long time because Philip just got hired on. So he's really been doing this a lot with maybe some help with, Jared and Matt and stuff like that. And it's like insane when you look back and look at the process, and it's been taking a long time, but it's also a lot of work, for one person, for 2 people. And I now understand, since this is my first learning experience with this whole process, why a lot of big companies can push out things in 3-4 months, because they have insane teams and they can do all of this work in a high volume. And we just don't have that luxury. So it's a lot of respect. Hat goes off.
Yeah. I was gonna ask Evan, like, as an engineer, is this like, because of this AI boom this year, is this the first time you've worked with AI? Like, was this exciting for you? Was this like new? Like, just because when they throw us in marketing into like a new software to figure out, like, there's definitely a learning curve. But I mean, was this the first time that you've been working with it?
Yeah, since the last time I worked with AI was in college, taking a fundamentals of AI, like machine learning class. And that wasn't actually using AI models. That was learning the math that goes behind making AI models. which was really hard and really confusing.
Yeah.
So this is
Oh
the
my
first
God.
time that I've actually, I guess, worked with like AI models, doing prompt engineering out in the wild. And yeah, it's super exciting. I hadn't really played around with AI before working at Interact, and having used tools like, ChatGPT and Llama 2 and all these different models, they're super, super powerful. Like,
Mm.
you can automate away a lot of the boring stuff. You can augment your own workflows, not completely replace them, but augment what you do in a way that allows you to focus on the more important stuff, like creative aspects, like interpersonal, like brainstorming and like high level company planning, while not worrying about like, you know, the small stuff, which I think is super, super cool. I
That's
would
exciting.
say it's overwhelming too.
Wow.
Like we've talked about like just the rate of change and keeping up, and how you have to prioritize what you adopt and what you don't. But in a way that's made us, more prepared for change. We know how to evaluate a new feature coming in and decide whether or not to use it.
Love that. I always think, I was like, were they as overwhelmed as we were, or like blown away by what it can do? Or was this like new for them
Just
when we first started?
Oh my God. Yes.
I felt like, I was like, oh, so this is like Siri or like Alexa, right? I just say, hey, Alexa, do
Mhm.
something. And now that we've learned more about it, I'm like, okay, no, this is way more than that.
Yeah. I'm thinking back to Damaris and Evan, you guys weren't here yet, but Jesse, you probably remember this when we were at the Russian River on an offsite. And we were already kind of talking about this idea of taking someone's I don't know, like whatever website, their business, or like putting it into, or like taking like a PDF and then putting it into something where it organizes the information. Like it would have had to be coded, but like would it be possible to take their information and give them suggestions for a quiz? But back then AI wasn't really, at least like what it is now, wasn't here yet. And so even though this was all new and exciting, this was like something we had thought about doing something like for a very long time. So it is just really cool to see how far it has come. And without some of the manual work of like coaching, sadly, Jackie's internet stopped working and is not here to talk about it. But with all the work of coaching, talking to customers, Damaris and customer support and social media, like that all put in sort of the foundation to get you guys started with the AI. And then, as we obviously were building it, you shadowed everybody in like what that process is like and using it. And then that kind of helped sort of bring it to where it is now.
Yeah,
Brought it to life.
that kind of reminds me of like you all had this idea for almost like an AI related system years ago, but the tech wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
That's like reminiscent of Netflix
Yeah.
when they wanted to start doing video streaming of like, we want to bring movies online, but internet bandwidth speeds just weren't there yet. The technology was not there. So it was a very valid idea, but just couldn't be supported by the current infrastructure. Like we kind of had the same, you had the same type of experience where the idea's there, the preparation's there as a team, but you need some type of like tech breakthrough to allow that to happen. And I think that's definitely been, that's what we're seeing today in the kind of the era of AI generation.
Do you
Quite the
think,
glow up.
I know, do you think that like, let's say hypothetically, I don't know, OpenAI crashes, right? Like what happens to all of the platforms that are being built to like call upon, I don't know, is that what you say? Like it makes calls to OpenAI to like produce the output. So what happens?
Can I curse on this show?
Yes.
It would be bad is the short answer. And like what you're asking is a super relevant question, and one that another thing we're starting to consider is like, how do we decouple ourselves from any single one LLM provider? Because right now, we've used it a lot. We've said it a lot on the show already. We use OpenAI. We mainly use their models. But ideally, we'd have a system that isn't tightly coupled to one provider, such that if one goes down, we can immediately swap in another one. Or if the quality of one goes down, we can swap in another one or do some testing and see which one is best for our system. And I think that really came to the forefront when like all the stuff about OpenAI came to light about they were pushing out their CEO, and then he was back and then he wasn't, and then they were going to move to Microsoft. Like, was Sam Altman still going to be there or not? We, like, as a team, were like, oh, this behemoth company that we thought was, only going to grow might not be doing that. We might not be able to depend on them. So it put into perspective that, we have to adopt new technologies, but we do also have to have a contingency plan for if those new technologies or dependencies go away. We have to prepare ourselves as best as possible.
I love that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that like OpenAI is ever going to get to a point of like Google? Like we'd be in the same position as a company if like Google crashed, or Google Drives or email.
Do you think the world would crash?
Yeah, like do you think, is that where it's leading to? Like that these AI models are going to, so many things are going to rely on them. There's so many businesses that incorporate AI now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're quickly becoming utility status. Things that are going to be, we're going to consider them so important and so ingrained into society that if they were to go out, that's like your electricity going out or your water going out. The implications of it going out are not necessarily something you can gracefully recover from. Like, for example, we have systems where after somebody completes an action, we send them an email, right? We have some automated hook. That's a dependency. We use a system to automatically send those emails after they do something. But that you could consider a non-critical dependency. If it's a fail, that's all right. It's a best effort service. But if a core part of your functionality or product starts going down, that's a critical failure. That's something that you can't gracefully recover from because it's, completely messing up a really, really critical workflow. And yeah, with how much AI has grown and how much it's being integrated into every single product or like software that's out there on the market today, it's becoming much more of a critical dependency.
Can you quickly clarify for listeners, like what part of the product is pulling from OpenAI and depends on it, and then what part of our product is just Interact?
Yeah, great question. So OpenAI is only used on like ai.tryinteract.com for the actual initial creation of some quiz that can be put into your account.
The copy.
Yeah. The content. But the builder, the dashboard, the analytics, everything beyond that initial creation is still a human using software or some user, making use of that software to edit their quiz or look at analytics. That does not have any type of AI dependency or use AI in any way right now. It's just good old fashioned software.
Love it. Yeah, and I think that's important because I'm sure I don't think a lot of people realized that a lot of these platforms that, you fill something out and then you get content using AI, it's built on top of a tool like OpenAI or any of the other ones. It's not like they coded the AI themselves, although I guess maybe they did. But I think it's important to differentiate, like, if it were to go down, it wouldn't be the whole product that goes down. Like you could still go in and create a quiz. You could still go in and use a template. It's the content creation part that would sort of struggle if something were to happen.
Exactly so.
I really want to say this quote. Do you guys know Marvel movies? Are you guys a Marvel people?
Yes.
A little bit.
Okay. The Glorious Purpose. Where's that from?
Ooh,
God,
I'm not
there's
that
so
good.
many. There's so many. There's so many movies.
You guys, season 2 of Loki just came out from Loki.
I haven't finished it.
Glorious Purpose.
Hold on, I haven't finished it. Okay, I'm still on like episode
No spoilers.
2.
Oh, dang it. I ruined it for you. Anyway, the glorious purpose is to get better and, integrate this. I just wanted to be cheesy. It failed. Whatever.
Now we have to put a spoiler alert in the disclaimer of this episode.
Yeah.
It's okay. It works out.
Yeah, if I could get on my soapbox a little bit, I think like that clarification like brought up a point of like what does have AI and then like what's still human driven, and like those two ideas, especially today, are like in such tension of like where's that middle ground? What do people want to have automated away? Where do people still want human touch, or to know there's a human behind it? And it's a $1 billion question, I think, and it depends on the product, the service, the person, the goal that you're trying to achieve. Is how much, what do you want to automate away, and what do you want to know that there's a human person still behind?
Yeah.
And I think what I'll give AI or Interact like a little credit here is that we're trying to market this and incorporate these features into our product in a way that just augments existing workflows, but doesn't completely replace, a human creating a quiz or actually publishing it at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I love that because I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're giving AI like a good rep. Like it doesn't, in the past couple of months, it's kind of been like, oh, AI is bad, like human connection. It's like, why can't there be both? There totally can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to
and
be
even like I may just be, no, let me not say that. Never mind. Just kidding.
There were 2 lawyers in New York that wrote a legal motion and filed it in court that was completely generated by ChatGPT. And they were either fined or disbarred. I forget which one, both as they should have been. But that's an example of like a dumb use of ChatGPT. And then all the examples of students, writing an essay and completely copy and pasting it from ChatGPT. There's really dumb ways to use AI. There are really dumb ways to use any tools out there. But we, as stewards or people that are providing this platform, can make it a not dumb usage, a way that augments existing workflows, makes you more creative, makes you better at, creating a quiz, but is not completely taking you out of the picture or using things without considering or looking at the output or seeing what you're getting at the end of the day.
I actually encourage people like to think of like our tool or AI tool as it's a rough draft of your quiz. Like just think of it as a rough draft. It's getting you started and you can then elaborate as a human would, your thoughts, the copy you want to add, make it your own more specifically. You wouldn't want a computer to do that for you. You would want to do that yourself and make it unique to you. So it's really just a tool, like Evan says, to get you in and get you started. Take the thinking out.
Yeah.
I think Josh has used the phrase like the blank page problem is becoming less and less of a thing. You won't have to stare at a blank page. You can be like, hey, help me generate some initial ideas. Help me get off the ground so I can, start running with some idea.
Yeah. And even when I use AI sometimes and I use it to help me generate ideas, I'm like, I don't like any of those ideas, but reading these gave me better ideas. So thanks. It's still.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so
So if
true.
you ever create a quiz and you don't like what our AI gives you, I guarantee it probably gave you some better ideas, some things to compare, contrast, and go from there too.
I love it. So to close us out, Evan, can you give us a sneak peek, not visually, but I guess with words, of what's coming for Interact AI?
Yeah. So the sneak peek is really the first version of that end-to-end automated quiz creation process. And that will look like a form that you fill out as a user where we ask some specific questions to try to get to know your business better and the purpose of your quiz, like the goal of your quiz, in ways that don't use, I guess, quiz jargon. Like, what's your outcomes? What are your results? Where are you trying to bucket users? Like, we don't do that. We try to keep it in terms of your business, the problems that you're helping people solve, and what your business does. And then we'll take those and kind of convert it into that quiz structure. So some form will be filled out. Then you can create or link your Interact account. And after that, quiz creation happens automatically in the background where we take the answers to your question, fetch more data about your company using user provided links or websites, and put that together into an Interact quiz that is then automatically added to your account. And you can open up in the dashboard or the builder and edit the colors, the fonts, the cover photos, tweak the wording like we were just talking about, add a little bit more of your own voice, and then publish it and allow people to learn about your company and interact with you. Pun intended. Yeah, that's our goal.
That's insane. Incredible.
Drum roll. To be determined. TBD, guys.
But you guys can still check out our Interact AI, what it is today, if you head over to ai.tryinteract.com and get started there and play around with it. So, Evan, thanks for dishing all the deets today, and hopefully Jackie's okay with her internet. But guys, thank you for joining me again this week. And for those who are listening, let us know if you have any questions on AI, any ideas, any feedback on a quiz if you've already requested one, and so on. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for letting me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.